Alrighty, so this is the new and updated projectile system. So previously I was just using line trace to determine which target you're firing at, but was talking to Tristan and he was thinking it would be a lot better for us to have projectile-based weapons. So, I mean, I still gotta work on the speed considering you can currently outfly the projectile. But, yeah, so this is the new system. And one of the issues that I was feeling might be a problem is that the projectiles, they weren't perfectly traveling towards your crosshair. So, for example, right now, I've basically got perfect aim on that player down there. But I found that when I was spawning the projectiles, even though I'm targeting the player, they'd usually end up on a line like somewhere out here. And so you had to kind of try and predict the line of movement for the projectile, which would clearly be irritating as hell in a shooter. So I thought, well, how can I improve the accuracy of the projectiles? And so I noticed that Unreal has, in the projectile component that they've already coded, there's an option to turn on homing. And it's for the exact purpose that it sounds. It's for creating homing missiles. And so I thought, well, what if we could just dynamically update the target for the homing missile to have it, aim towards where the hit location of the line trace is. So I looked into doing that, and I found that, at least with all of the tutorials that I could find, nobody really knew how to dynamically adjust the target. So you could set the homing missile to target like the nearest actor that is using physics, for example. But to be able to just like randomly shoot at the ground and set the trace location of a line trace to be the target, it's not really possible because the projectile, the homing projectile component actually uses a scene component as its target, and not every actor in Unreal has a scene component. So that threw me off. I wanted to be able to, just shoot random points on the landscape with accuracy, not just, actors who have a scene component. So what I came up with as a workaround was to create a target actor. And actually, I'm just going to jump into my target actor, and I got to turn on the visibility. I've got a little billboard target. So my workaround was spawn an actor with a scene component at the location of the line trace, and that looks something like this. So basically, wherever the line trace hits, it spawns this target and then sets that as the projectile's target. So the cool thing is you get pinpoint accuracy with your projectiles, but it's still a projectile-based weapon because the line trace is only used for targeting. It's not used for the hit detection. So then I was like, okay, that's really cool, but I also want it to be able to lock on to a moving target, hence this cube here. And so I found that it's fairly easy to do, but there was a difficulty in that if you tell it to snap to the parent actor, and the parent actor is not movable, it's going to snap to its root location. So, for example, this, I want to call it landscape mesh, this cube mesh that is acting as the ground right now, is not set to movable. And it is one giant mesh. Same would be true of the landscape. So if you always set the target to snap to the location of the actor that it's connected to, that means if I'm shooting the landscape here, instead of the target spawning there, it would actually spawn at the origin, which is right around where that dude is standing. So even if I shot like this 4 or 5 times, they would always go to the 0 location of that mesh. So I had to come up with a system to dynamically tell whether or not this actor is a movable object, and if it's a movable object, then snap to its 0 origin, and if it's not, then don't snap and just spawn the actor, the target actor, at the impact location. So that took a little bit of work, but I figured it out. And then, of course, the fun thing is now I can dynamically move between the two. So I can target a moving actor or the ground with each individual line trace. It doesn't matter to the system which one I get. So that's really cool. And now we have basically perfect homing projectiles. And if you don't get a hit result from the line trace, then it just travels in a straight line, like a regular projectile would. So it's like a free-moving rocket. So yeah, this took a couple hours to figure out, and I'm not gonna lie, there was some hair-pulling moments where it wasn't working, and I couldn't figure out why, but I obviously got it working in the long run, and yeah, I think this is going to be really cool. I don't know if I could recreate it, but one of the really funny things that happens occasionally is the projectile, whoops, will try and hit the target, but it'll miss it, and it'll like basically spin circles around the moving actor until it hits it. I'm gonna see if I can try and recreate that because it's freaking hilarious. Nope, I missed. Of course, now when I want it to do it, it's not going to. But yeah, it's really funny when the projectile does loops around the target trying to hit it. There we go. Whee! Oh shoot, I almost forgot. One of the really cool elements of this is the projectile itself. So the projectile mesh, basically. So oh, I'm used to dual monitor setup. Excuse me. So the projectile by default is just a sphere, and I wanted it to have to look kind of more like a comet, right? Like it was streaking through the sky. So I actually just took a really low poly sphere and stretched out the back of it. Well, deleted the back and then stretched out this edge and scaled it down, so it gives it kind of a tail. And then I applied an opacity to the texture, so it's basically fading out. Once it gets to the end, it's gone. And it's just like an open-faced cylinder here. But the really cool thing is, yeah, it gives it that look of streaking through the sky. I was originally going to do this with like an anim trail particle effect, because the benefit of that is that it'll change its curve dynamically. This guy being a static mesh, it's always a straight line. But you'll notice when I jump into the game here, where are we? Blank. You'll notice that it's always looking like it's moving in the direction of the intended target. It doesn't look like it's always going in a straight line. So how I did that is my absolute favorite node. Whoops. Where is it? Projectile. my absolute favorite node, find look at rotation. This is the same little node that I'm using to steer the AI ships towards the player. So essentially, if I turn this off and we hit play again, viewport, you'll notice that my projectiles, they kind of like fall. It was more obvious in that first shot. They're falling towards the ground, always in a straight line. So if I aim at this guy, you'll see the projectile is going to pan sideways, which of course looks ridiculous. It doesn't sell the effect. So I was thinking, oh, what can I do to make it more dynamic so that it actually curves the tail? And so I was thinking, oh, I could turn it into a skeletal mesh and put a couple of bones in the end, in the tail of the projectile, and set them to physics simulate. And then I was like, oh no, more simple is just adjust the rotation of the projectile. So my handy dandy fine look at rotation, I'm just updating the rotation of the static mesh. So the projectile itself, its collision is just a sphere set to the end of the mesh. So it doesn't matter, because the origin of my mesh is in the dead center of that sphere. It doesn't matter which direction I rotate this in. It's always inside its collision. So make sure that rotation's off. So then you can update that dynamically to give it the effect that the tail is bending. So basically, if it's got a target, if it's got a correct lock target, then it calls the adjust the projectile rotation. It does this. This is just under 5 frames a second, I believe. So it's not updating too often to be really intensive, but often enough that it looks good. So I was fine-tuning it, and yeah. Anyways, that's the number, and that actually just sells the effect even more. Oh, I probably also want to, let's see, who the hell is that spooky lady? I probably also want to go into my homing target. Sorry, this one, homing target, and turn off. Oh, no, turn on hidden in game. And then you can see the effect as it was fully intended. So yeah, so now the projectile is always kind of adjusting its rotation towards its target. So it looks really, really accurate, actually, and I'll demonstrate it again here. See, it always, what? It always looks like it's going directly towards its intended target. So anyways, that was just a little fine-tuning that I added in that really only took like 2 minutes worth of effort and coding, but I think it really just sells these projectiles. So, and you'll notice this white cursor. This isn't really, it's just an effect. You're always aiming, so even when these two aren't lined up, you're always aiming at the center of this green reticle. But I just thought it was really cool to have kind of a targeting system that looks like a target lock. So that is basically just a mesh of 4 cubes that I've attached in the right location to the ship itself. And so as you move the ship around and it points in different directions, it kind of offsets from the actual crosshair, which is just a HUD element. So in combination, it looks kind of cool. But anyways, yeah, this video is way longer than it should have been. So yeah, this is the new targeting system, and I'm excited. Talk to you guys all later. Bye.